John or other members of the public? I can just ask you to state your name and
Good morning, John
municipality.
Singer, represent different things, different areas. I hadn't planned on saying something about this, but I learned yesterday that perhaps people think I'm hypercritical about things, especially with the prison system, but I don't think that's true. There are occasions when I have positive things to say, and I do say them to Cheryl once in a while. So I do apologize if I come across as too negative sometimes. Somebody has to do the dirty work. I don't hope I'm hearing correctly. It wasn't disclosed, I don't think, by Linda, where she got to. Oh, there she is. What is the amount that they're asking for?
We can get you these packets, the fact it's posted, but the post-release program, the total 2018 amount, 2018-19 amount would be $360,908.
Versus $100,000 that's being allocated now. I wondered if the other organization that didn't apply had some idea that they would come and recommend $360,000 out of a $100,000 budget. Maybe I missed it, Linda. Who else provided bids?
I need to get up. So, this is a microphone thing. That's okay. There were two proposals submitted, the one for pre-release, and this is public information. The pre-release was submitted by New Beginnings, and they partnered actually with Mental Health America they partnered with in their submission, and the post-release was GEO.
The only other question I have, I don't see this on the agenda for tomorrow.
It's not currently, and that'll be a question I'll ask the board what their pleasure is for tomorrow, once we hear all the public comments. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes.
You just state your name and municipality, please.
Absolutely. Mark Hemmons, East Donegal Township. Having not seen that and seeing the additional money, I believe I heard post reentry housing mentioned a few times, additional funds for housing. I'd certainly like to hear some clarification on what that housing would entail and how GEO Group plan to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the committee to hold me, keep me honest here. I believe the housing allocation is not to exceed $1,000 per inmate just per inmate is what the RFP asks for. That's currently what is allocated for housing assistance now, and that is what would hold true going forward. They actually have a tiered structure depending on how many inmates are placed at the time. But it's honoring the $1,000 per inmate.
Other members of the public? Dan?
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, everyone. I'd just like to take a moment to try and clarify some comments around.
Just say who you are.
Oh, sorry, Dan. Dan
Dan.
Jorman, Lancaster Township, CEO of Community Action Partnership, which is, of course, the parent organization of the RMO. I'd like to clarify a couple of statements that were made and talk about the RMO deciding not to apply for this RFP. Specifically around our willingness to collaborate or to change our business model. But let me go back to the first RFP and say, within the first RFP there were 5 different sections. It was I think everyone would agree, a different RFP than the second RFP. We put together a collaborative for that. We had heard the Deputy Warden's presentation around wanting a more collective impact approach where silos are eliminated by bringing everybody together, having a backbone organization, and making sure that things are very highly coordinated around the services that are delivered. When we look even at that RFP, there was a list of evidence-based practices, certifications, and things, all of which I want to say very clearly, the county has every right to ask for. I've been fundraising, grant writing for over 20 years now. I've never begrudged a funder for deciding how they want to spend their money, so let me be clear about that. We looked at that and said, as a group, as 8 organizations, none of us have all of these, but together we do. And so we put in an RFP response that included those partners so that we could meet all of the thresholds. One of the key elements that I think, Commissioner Parsons, in your comments are missing is the time frame. So what we read in the RFP was these practices need to be in place at the beginning of the provision of services. So being able to deliver and be in those certifications in that time frame is very difficult for any single organization to shift to unless there's some provision made that you have X number of months to get a certain state certification or X number of months to get certified within a certain evidence-based practice. So our challenge was not one of not wanting to apply or not wanting to change our business model, but in looking at how much time do we have to have those things in place so that we can in good faith tell the county that we can adhere to this contract if awarded. The challenge came for us in the second RFP when it was reduced to 2 areas. And this is not, so I want to be clear, I don't think unless the panel were mind readers that this is intentional. So I want to be clear about that as well. I don't feel that the RMO was intentionally shut out of this process. And so as there are narratives out there in the community that are kind of running wild, I want to say that on the record. What happened though was that we sat down as a group of providers. And I want to also be clear, the RMO did not decide on its own not to submit an RFP. Our collaborative of 8 different nonprofits decided to do that. And as we looked at the second RFP, certain executive directors started to say, well, I can't meet that requirement given what's in that RFP. And as they started to peel away, we no longer had all of the qualifications. So I want you to think about 2 things that Linda said that I think are really important. Apples and oranges, and the scope of this second RFP is far beyond what the RMO was delivering in the past. So the things that went along with that, we're willing to become an orange. We just can't do it within the time frame that was given within that RFP. We're an apple right now. So our challenge would have been to have promised you as a county within that RFP that we could meet everything that was in there by July 1, which I think would have been impossible given the things we didn't have once our partners peeled away. So I hope that clarifies where we stand as an organization. I also want to point out that the RMO is not going away. That's also been a rumor. We have a $270,000 budget total. $100,000 of that was the commissary funds. The intensive program will no longer be able to be delivered in the way that we've delivered it in the past. Part of the challenge there was that $1,000 per inmate limit within housing, which if you think about the housing market in Lancaster, very difficult to do anything over a single month, especially if you're also including other services with that. So that $1,000 housing was also a barrier, but we were working with partners to figure out how we could leverage. Nonprofits are very good at making a dollar out of a dime. But in this particular case, again, once the partners started to unravel, we didn't have a path forward. And so again, I just want to come back to that idea that we would have been an apple applying for something that was designed for oranges, and we would have had to have become an orange by July 1st. But I in no way want that to speak for our willingness to partner with other organizations. I think we have a reputation that precedes us around building partnerships and collaboration. And I in no way want that to imply that we're not willing to work with whoever ends up getting the contract, whoever ends up doing pre-release services. That's just not true. We are a partnership-based organization. In this case, the partnership just didn't hold together through this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Appreciate your comments and appreciate our county's relationship with CAP and look forward to that continuing. Other comments from the public?